will go ahead and get started, and then if we have additional people join us, we'll try to catch those folks up. Good afternoon. I'm Rachel McLean with Snyder ISD. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Learning and Innovation. And we are chatting today with our high school staff members. We have Shay Murphy, he's our high school principal. And Shauna Pinkerton is our academic dean, and Jennifer Rosas is our work-based learning coordinator. We also have Jesus Gomez, our director of equity. And so if we have any needs for bilingual support in Spanish, we can, Jesus can help us in that area. If you have questions while we're going through, we've got some questions that were submitted earlier from parents, and we'll kind of use those to get us started. But if you have questions as we're going through, if you will just pop those in the chat or the Q&A feature, and we will try to answer those live as we are talking. And if we happen to not get around to everything, then we will definitely try to address those in the next, this afternoon or tomorrow. So we will go ahead and get started. And let's just jump right in. High school folks, tell our parents what happens when a student is sent home for quarantine.
Okay, I'll take that question. When a student is needed to be quarantined, they basically become a virtual student for 10 days or 14 days, whatever they've been quarantined for. And the directions they're given is to follow their schedule, just like they're at school, and to log on to Schoology period by period, follow the directions in there. They'll be given directions on how to log into each teacher's Zoom meeting. So they'll get the direct instructions, then they'll follow the instructions on Schoology on what assignments to do and everything that they need to do to be successful. So that's basically the instructions they get when quarantined.
Okay, all right. So we've had quite a bit of questions regarding attendance and how we're taking attendance. So obviously things do not look quite the same as they have in years past. So let's talk about how students that are in virtual school or virtual instruction are marked present, and how just the whole attendance process.
Okay, so for virtual students, I guess kind of the default attendance is present, but what happens is the teacher will look for the virtual students to log into their Zoom meeting. So once a student logs into the Zoom meeting, the teacher will mark them virtually present, which shows up as a 2 on the attendance. So if a parent is at home checking attendance in Skyward, if they look at 2 on attendance, that means that they're virtually present. So if the student doesn't log into the Zoom, they're expected to get on Schoology, follow the directions, complete the assignments, and then attendance is taken based on adequate progress based on the assignment. So if it was assignments that's going to take more than a day, they need to make a certain amount of progress to be counted present. A lot of assignments are due at 7:59 the following day. So the teacher will check that and give them credit for their attendance based on completion of that assignment. So the teacher will mark them unexcused absent if they don't log into their Zoom. From that point on, they have 48 hours to change that, and they'll change that based on the completion or adequate progress on their assignments.
Okay, so it's pretty important that we have accurate attendance. So at the high school level, if a child or a student misses too many classes, how does that impact their high school career?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, at the high school level, a student, is promoted from grade level to grade level, and eventually graduates based on credits gained or earned. And so in order to earn a credit, you have to meet Texas compulsory attendance laws, which means you have to be present in class at least 90% of the time. So if they go above that as far as number of absences, they're required to make up those hours in some form or fashion. And in a normal year, we allow them to make up that time in Saturday school or before school or after school or lunch detention or something to make up that time. However, in the COVID era, when we have students that are virtual and face-to-face, we're looking at a way for them to make up those school hours or those hours that are missed But they will have to, make up those hours and have a passing grade to earn credit. So that's at the point we're at now. We're right now working with our attendance committee to look at ways to make how they're going to make up those hours fair and equitable for both face-to-face students and virtual students.
And so if a child has missed too many days for whatever reason, there's still some opportunities for
Yes,
retaining their credit. So it's not all is lost, but go ahead and work with the campus and put a plan in place.
students will more than likely do Saturday school. Students that are virtual, we're going to look at ways of either completing different types of assignments or redoing some of the assignments they missed or doing assignments through Edgenuity. We're kind of working up that plan where it's fair to all students.
Perfect. Okay. So that we had a question from a parent regarding how students can make up attendance. So Saturday school and some other options that are out there, and you guys are in communication with those parents and students that are kind of in danger of that situation.
Yes, ma'am. We've notified. Luckily, Mr. Gregory, Mr. Tate have been very proactive in this, and they've got ahead of the situation. And for all the students that were in trouble with attendance, they've already sent letters home, and we're starting to get flooded with parent feedback and everything. So that's why we're looking at making sure the plan is right. And I know it's been difficult for teachers and for everybody to make attendance exactly right, because it's different this year and it's hard. So there's some error in there on our part that we're looking at how to make fair to everyone. So it's just a work in progress. Luckily, this semester ends on January 29th, so we have a couple of weeks to see where their attendance lands at, or how many absences they have to make up, and how we're going to do that exactly.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we've had some questions coming in about how parents can support their students, and both face-to-face and virtual, but we do see some of our virtual students struggling a little bit more. So where can parents look to see where like their student work that may be missing, or they need to focus in on having some assignments completed?
Okay, so parents they have several options. They can ask their child to log into Schoology, and they can actually go to the grade report, and they can see from there if there are any missing assignments. There's not going to be an average there because our Skyward is our official grade book. They can log into Skyward and see if there are missing grades there. We also have an option where parents can get a parent account for Schoology. And so if they don't have that, and that's something that you're interested in, get with us and we can get you the information to get that parent account set up so that you can see exactly the progress that your kids are making.
So if I'm going to pop your emails into the chat. So if a parent needs family access in Skyward or parent access in Schoology, you two ladies or the Snyder, the high school help desk, and I'll put that one in there too.
Yeah, so if they're looking for Skyward access, they can send it to the help desk. What we will do is we'll forward it on to the counseling office because they are the ones that take care of that for us. But if it's easier just to send everything to the help desk email, then that is perfectly fine, and we can get that to the correct place.
And that help desk email is
helpdesk@snyderisd.net.
Tapping as I'm talking. Okay, so that's perfect. We also have a resource, and we'll pop this into the chat, where a few weeks ago before the break, we did one of these family connection time for parents on how to log into Schoology, and we have a parent course in Schoology that parents can walk through and see how how to check grades or missing assignments. And then in that we also talk about how to check grades in Skyward, and that Skyward is our official grade book, but how to use Schoology as a tool to help see where your students are. So let's say a parent has a student that's struggling academically, or or having some challenges in their classwork. What resources do the high school that are available at the high school to help both face-to-face learners and virtual learners?
So we have several options. We do have Pride Hall 4 days a week. Monday and Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. and Tuesday and Thursday from 6:30 to 7:30. And then we do have teachers that are creating, tutorials or study sessions outside of that for their specific class. So I would definitely say first reach out to the teacher and find out what they have set up. Because I do know that some teachers may have you connect with, it may be another teacher in their department that is running it for that week, but they're going to make sure that you get the help that you need.
Perfect. Okay. So what encouragement can you guys give to parents as they are working with their students, specifically like virtual students? Like, what are you, as a parent, what can we do to help our virtual students, if whether they're short term because they've been in quarantine or they're having COVID, or long term options? That, what's your advice?
So I would definitely say keep the conversation going. Ask daily, what are they doing? What are they working on? My own kids were quarantined for several weeks, and that was a constant conversation is, okay, well, what did you do in this class today? And what are you working on for this class? So that I knew what they were doing and where they were at. It's easy to get distracted. I feel like when you're outside of the school building, and so even in the school building sometimes, but just keeping that conversation going and knowing that you're there to support them and that you have a vested interest in how they're doing in school and how you can help.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely, the parent input is huge, and it's a partnership between the school and the parents, especially when we have our students that are working from home. Do we have any programs in particular that our students can access and maybe have support for some continued learning opportunities?
We do. So with our single sign-on, clever.com, students have access to a wide range of apps and websites that they can utilize, including their Schoology. If their course is using Edgenuity, that's going to be there. McGraw-Hill, IXL. So any of those various platforms that we're using, they can get to it all through Clever, which makes it a lot easier. It's kind of their one-stop shop.
Okay. So parents can encourage their children to access those resources. So let's talk about grades. I guess we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but if a parent wants to check a student's grades, what steps do they need to take? What are some resources? What's the best tools that we have available?
So first and foremost, I mean, Ms. Rosas already mentioned about in Schoology, they have a button at the top that is called Grade Report. That grade report tells students what they're missing. And as a matter of fact, I have done this with my own personal kids, where it is very easy to go click on that grade report while that student is logged in, and you can see exactly what that student might be missing. It won't tell averages, like Ms. Rosa said, because Skyward is our official grading center. That is where you need to always check for grades. In Skyward, our expectations of teachers are 3 grades per week. So you should be able to see those grades being synced over to Skyward. If there's any difficulty there, please contact us so we can make sure that problem is taken care of immediately. But within Skyward, if you see a missing grade in Skyward and there's not a 0 in place, well, that can give some false hope to those averages, because a teacher just may not be getting those grades. You may have caught them in the between putting grades in or something of that nature. But missing could mean that there's a 0 in that spot. That is something to have concern, and making sure that your student is taking care of business in that class. One of the things that we encourage parents is, if you log into your Skyward account, which you can contact us with the counselor's office, and we'll make sure you have that login information if it's needed. And you check yourself to see what your student's average is looking like. But again, sitting down with your student, even if they're in high school, especially if they're a senior in high school, and trying to get towards graduation, we want to catch any mistakes or anything that is slipping, or a student not getting their work done. We want to catch that as early as possible. We certainly don't want to be looking at that in April, especially for seniors. So sit down with your student, even if they're in high school, ask them about what's going on. Are they having trouble with something in specific? help them reach out to the teachers. And if you need further help reaching out to the teachers, I certainly don't mind doing that as the academic dean. Send the help desk an email, send myself an email, and let's get that communication door open. All of the teachers are doing a fantastic job at trying to juggle the face-to-face and the virtual and making sure that everything is equal and the same. But everybody needs help at some point or another. So we want to make sure that we are intervening. If there's any questions out there lingering, ask. There's certainly not going to be a silly question. We get asked at the help desk many different questions every single day, and we are never disappointed to be able to reach out and help you communicate with that student's teacher. But checking their grades, extremely important to stay on top of it. And when you see something go awry, we need to get on top of it right then, not waiting for 2 or 3 weeks down the road.
I know when I no longer have children in public school, my baby is in college, but when I had students and I signed up for the weekly progress report. And so every Saturday morning in my email, I received a progress report that showed if there were zeros, or I think I had set below 80 and I would get a notice. But that was huge for me to help stay on top of, high school kids. Like you said, high school kids, super active, got a lot going on. Parents are super busy. So that was an easy way for me to have a weekly reminder to check in on those grades. And that's also, you can set that up in Family Access and Skyward. So
we're just chartering some uncharted waters right now. So I think it's really important for communication between parent and student and parent and school. I think that the open communication is the most important thing right now, so that we can take care of problems very quickly before we're trying to remember things. We'll get it covered really fast.
So we've had a few questions regarding STAR testing. And so I know we've had a lot of reports in the news about some STAR information. So will we be having STAR testing in the spring?
We will be having STAR testing in the spring. It's not going anywhere. We're always going to be testing the academic progress of our students. That's never going to change. So we are progressing forward here at Snyder High School just like it's a normal year, though it is most definitely, I think, agreeable that it is not a normal year. But we are treating it as a normal year. We want to see the progression of our students always getting better, and that learning is being facilitated and they're getting ready for that next platform, whether it be their 10th grade year or college the following year, or going into the career workforce. So yes, all of that is not changing. Our unit assessments are here. We're always looking at the data to determine how we need to shift and adjust instruction to only get better here at Snyder High School.
So we've introduced a new tool this year, and it's the MAP test. And so our parents are asking, what is MAP and how can they use that data? But then how does the school also use that data for student support?
So our MAP testing that we're using this year, basically it is a beginning of the year test, a middle of the year test, and an end of the year test. And so again, all we're doing is testing the progression of the student throughout the school year. We always want to see that moving forward. We obviously would not want to see that moving backwards. We encourage all of our students to do their very best on these tests, because if they do not, then we're not getting good data to help them move forward. So then after we've done our beginning of the year, which our middle of the year will be coming up soon, after we've done the beginning of the year, we were able to assign them. So my personal student that's here at the high school in 10th grade, in English, she took the MAP test for the beginning of the year, saw a little bit of an area that she could improve on, and we go into what's called Edgenuity. You can access Edgenuity, your student can, through clever.com. And you go into the Edgenuity program and you may see a course that has been assigned to your student. It'll be usually titled something along My Path, NWEA, there's something of that nature, but you will definitely see a distinct title to that course like My Path that helps that student work forward, especially in ELA. I know that that's definitely been assigned across the board to our students for reading and writing in that area. And so I know my personal student has that on her Edgenuity. So I would expect to be able to say that all of our students in English 1 and 2 have seen something of that nature come across their Edgenuity. So have your kid encourage your student to work through that. It has specifically assigned them in their area of weakness or something that can be improved upon. Even a student that's an honor student, there's always ways we can improve, and that's what this My Path has done. So based on that information, and it could shift a little bit once they take their middle of the year test. Those things can shift and help that student continue to grow. And we've seen some great success with it so far, the students that are working forward on it.
Good. That's a great tool. So we have a little bit over 5-6 minutes left. We've had quite a few attendees join us. If you have any questions for our panelists, please feel free to type those in the chat or in the Q&A. I'm going to check the Q&A. We do not have any open questions. And then we will have a few minutes here at the end of our Family Connections time to address those. We have had one question come in about how parents can see the MAP test results.
So I think the easiest thing to do that would be to contact your students' either English teacher, it's between English and math, contact your students' English and math teacher. Those teachers have access to that information. That would probably be the fastest way to help get that MAP test results. I certainly don't mind you dropping an email to the help desk, and I will certainly help you find that information as well. But it would probably be the most quick to email that teacher, and that teacher can give you those results.
Because in the MAP test, there's a family or a family report, and it'll show very specific information. And so Ms. Pinkerton's correct that probably the easiest access is for the teacher to print that and email it to the parent. We have had a question regarding if a student fails the STAR test this year, will they have to repeat the course? And I'll answer this one. We have not received any specific guidance from the Texas Education Agency, from TEA. So we do know last year when the STAR testing, was canceled, that students who were in a tested subject course, so English 1, English 2, algebra, biology, US history, as long as those students passed the course, they were given credit for EOC completion. Again, we have not received any guidance from TEA regarding that information. They just released, shortly before our Christmas break, that the accountability system of the state of Texas, where all schools and districts have an A through F rating, was being suspended, but STAR testing would still take place. So we suspect that over the next few weeks, we'll have additional guidance. But it is even more critically important if a student is in a tested subject that they are maintaining a passing grade. Just anytime it's important to earn the credit, but then also in the state of Texas, in addition to a certain number of credits in each subject, a student has to pass 5 STAR EOC tests, and so it's to graduate. And so it's very important that our students are doing the best that they can and maintaining those grades. But that's a great question. We also would like to have an answer to that question.
But in the meantime,
sure.
we're just going to keep moving forward
In the
like it is.
Yes.
No change.
In the meantime, and to be honest, the STAR testing gives us quite a bit of data. It's not just for graduation purposes, but if a student's going on after high school to college, post-secondary, a lot of the data helps support how they can be successful on ACT, SAT, entrance exam, and so forth. Another question. So parents concerned about Saturday school, if they've been absent due to COVID, and if there's not enough Saturdays in the year. And so Mr. Murphy, you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. The school is establishing some options so that we can get those out to parents. You want to revisit that?
Yes. Yeah, and we've met a couple of times today even and talked about the accuracy of our attendance and how we're going to adjust to make it fair for, because a lot of times the students were sent home because they were quarantined, and there's been teachers that have been sent home. So when there's a sub there may have been a day or two missed. So we're looking at every student individually and seeing exactly what we think each student owes. So our goal is to make it a number that can be easily achieved, but that's also fair to everyone. We know that there's some parents that are concerned about, they're virtual for a reason a lot of the times, and so they don't really want to come up to Saturday school. So we're looking at those options. Probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will have a definite plan, and it will be out to those individual parents as soon as we get that information together.
Right. Okay. And we have, like you already mentioned, several tools that are out there, the MyPath and Edgenuity, that virtual students may be able to take advantage of. And so the high school will have that information out about attendance recovery options. We are obligated by the state of Texas to continue the compulsory attendance, which is a student has to be in class for 90% of the time in order to earn credit. But we recognize, our systems that we have in place have been challenging to move to a face-to-face and a virtual and a kind of a blended learning environment and students having a lot of mobility from face-to-face instruction to virtual instruction because of COVID exposure. And so we definitely appreciate our parents' patience as we work through this, and commend the administration of the campus that you guys are thinking creatively on how best to serve the needs of our parents and our students.
Sure.
Let's see. If a parent feels that there's an error in attendance, what should they do? That was a question that came up earlier today, and it's a great question.
I think the best thing to do is to contact either myself or their grade level assistant principal. So if they're a sophomore or senior, they need to contact Mr. Gregory. And if they're a freshman or a junior, they can contact Mr. Tate. And we will look into that and get an answer back as soon as possible.
And on that, the Family Connections resource page that we posted a little bit earlier in the chat, there's instructions on how to check students' attendance in Skyward. And so I would encourage our parents to check that attendance on a regular basis. And then if you see something that you want to have clarified, the sooner that we can address those issues with the campus, it's more fresh on our minds and we can kind of research it a little bit better. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, ma'am. It's easier to correct the quicker we hear about the issue.
Okay. Well, our time is up for our Family Connections. So we appreciate all of our attendees and definitely appreciate our panelists. Next week on Family Connections, we'll be back with high school, and we're going to be talking about some of our PTech program options and some of our CTE options and how students can earn industry certifications. And so not necessarily a COVID conversation, but pretty excited to talk about all of the options that are out there for our high school students. So we look forward to seeing our high school parents back again next week, maybe our 8th grade junior high parents, getting some insight before those students come. And we will see you guys next week. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.